Standing in the presence of all 6 BMW M5 installments offers an illuminating view into the evolution of the breed. And South Africa is uniquely woven into the chronicles of the iconic performance line. One could unofficially say that the M5 story began right here. In 1976, the 530 Motorsport Limited Edition, MLE, based on the E12 designation of the 5 Series, was birthed on local shores. Only 218 units were produced, homologating the model for competitive pursuits on track. The 530 MLE preceded the M535i of 1979, as well as the M1 of 1978, which is of course documented in the annals of history as the first bona fide M-badged offering from BMW. But the true genesis of the sporting saloon species, as stated by BMW, came in the form of the E28 M5. The shark-nosed 4-door was released in 1985, employing a derivative of the 6-cylinder engine that featured in the M1 Coupe. The practical family chariot literally had the heart of a supercar.
E28, obviously the first of the M5s, hand-built. And yeah, special car. It was the first of the cars to have a supercar motor, so that sort of wowed the world, and it was this luxury car that you could put your family in, but you know, storm down the autobahn at a hell of a pace.
Then came the turn of the E34 in 1989. While the version adopted a more executive overture to its constitution, it remained faithful to the motorsport heritage with a mechanical sestet under the hood that still shared bits with the M1.
I love the E34, last of the hand-built M5s. It's just got that real sleeper look to it, a complete sleeper. The other ones you can kind of see the pace, but I think for me my favorite is the E39. The way it looks, the way it sounds, just everything.
With the looming millennium, BMW sought to thrust into proceedings with a mightier M5 that trounced its 2 forebears in the technical statistics department. The E39 featured an 8-cylinder unit under the hood. Remember that classic commercial with the jet-propelled vehicle captioning the M5 as the fastest saloon on the planet? Not only did this M5 up the ante in terms of pace and potency, it boasted technology befitting the captains of industry who signed on the dotted line. Buyers were able to specify items that featured in the 7 Series of that era, including a telephone, a television, navigation, and an interface that could be considered a precursor to the contemporary BMW iDrive digital setup.
E39, you know, it's that 4.9 naturally aspirated V8 with the 6-speed manual. Driving around here, I left the traction control on because I don't really know what it's going to do with it off. And that's the thing, it was one of those cars that it introduced that kind of system. And it's literally an on or off, that's it. And it's so cool to see because it sits in the middle of all these cars of that old school meets new school.
In 2005, the recipe was rewritten with the Chris Bangle penned E65 series. Its screaming 10-cylinder power source and 7-speed sequential automated manual gearbox nodded to the knowledge gleaned from those BMW Sauber F1 activities. Whatever your impressions, one must concede that for this reason the E60 M5 is destined for future classic status. We are not likely to see such a configuration from the mark again. The model featured here is even more special as it is one of a handful of touring variants brought to South Africa.
How often do you get a screaming road car that often sounds like a Formula 1 car? And I also just think it's so cool having like a mommy wagon that will clean up, like, yeah.
Next came the 2011 F10 M5, reverting to a V8 mill, albeit with the aid of forced induction. It was the first turbocharged M5. The abiding memory was one of its heft and slipperiness. This was a brutal piece of kit whose steering squirmed and writhed in the hand like a rabid pet seal. Its backside was only too eager to shimmy. Although this M5 piped acoustics into the cabin, its aural presence was decidedly average. It lacked the distinction of those notable predecessors under full chat, though it lacked little when it came to power. A competition package was released for the F10, offering a bump in engine outputs and additional poise courtesy of suspension revisions. Our market also received an exclusive special pure metal edition version, of which just 20 were made, commemorating 30 years of the moniker. Speaking to some of the more seasoned commentators in the industry, it seems that the F10 is not regarded as the zenith of the M5 collection. Bear in mind, of course, that nostalgia and subjectivity does invariably creep into such verdicts.
The car that left me trembling was that F10. It's just so wild and raucous and a bit of a handful.
So, what will the latest 2018 F90 M5 be remembered for? Well, for starters, this is the first M5 to feature all-wheel drive. And before you spit on the floor and dismiss it as a sellout, remember that the rival Mercedes-AMG product went the same route. The move was inevitable. No sense in having an abundance of power at your disposal if all it does is overwhelm the rear wheels. Although the new M5 is replete with a rear-wheel drive only mode that lets its driver loose sans electronic aids. Try that one at your own risk. If we regard the traditional M5 character as cosseting, easy to drive daily, practical and seriously rapid, then this iteration delivers amply. All-wheel drive makes the new M5 more forgiving, noted in instances where corners are tackled with a leaden foot. It connects straights to turns with fearsome urgency. Unlike its predecessor, which used the 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, the new M5 adopts an 8-speed automatic. It has the same displacement and number of cylinders as the former car, but with more power, of course, at 441 kilowatts and 750 newton meters. Good for a sprint time of 3.4 seconds, says the manufacturer. Perhaps the G30 may go down in history as being the last BMW M5 to employ internal combustion entirely. We know that hybrid technology will be incorporated into the future M models, and we might just be witnessing peak M5 before the breed succumbs to the perceived benefits of the alternative propulsion era.
The latest BMW M5 is of course superior in all quantifiable aspects, but what do you think the best M5 is? Well, obvious question.
Well, yeah, the E39 because it's mine. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said. I saw you drive this new one around, and although it is so fast, it was very controlled. But when you got into that F10, it was like you just became a hooligan of note. And I think that's what's cool with the M5 is no matter which one you look at, it inspires all sorts of different emotions from a petrol head.
So one vote for E39.
E39.
Oliver?
Definitely, yes, I love a screaming V10, but I love the F10, where if you disrespect it, it'll bite back hard.
This new one, the looks for me are amazing. The old one, it's just the granddaddy of them all. But I think I have to go with Justin, the E39. It's just the way it looks, the way it sounds, everything just does it for me.
Like we said, they're all so different in so many ways, and I think, you know, what's also aided that is the fact that the engine changes each time, whereas the new one kind of has the F10's engine. But I think the all-wheel drive system makes the new one a lot more controllable. But for me, I think there's no better stamp of approval than having bought, you know, to go and buy one. And for me, E60, screaming V10 in a road car, it's the most exotic of the M5s for me, and yeah, I think it's just so special, especially in a station wagon.
Yeah.
So it's my vote.
Look, I mean, in every quantifiable sense, the new one is superior, but you know, of course, nostalgia creeps into these things, and for me, E39. It was the car I drove in Need for Speed, high stakes, you know? Yeah. But one thing we can all agree on is that there's good reason as to why that M5 nameplate is so well regarded.